My, no, I have Oreos. Yeah, I have them later after. I just came home from Shiur. I just came home 2 minutes ago, so let me go.
All right, so I'm going to start in a minute. Tomorrow is the NATEP birthday club for the month of. So please, if you made a reservation, we'll see you. What? I think there's a bris, but is it here? That I know of is here. I know there's a bris story. Markowitz told me.
You can meet downstairs too.
Usually it's not. I'll ask more. No, when Markowitz said there's a bris. Yeah, okay. Let's start.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Let me start by making the following observation. The human body is a holy vessel, and as such, it has to be treated with respect and dignity, and especially after death. That's why there are many halachos about taking care of the body when it dies, proper treatment, etc., tahara, so forth. Question is, are all parts of the human body as holy as the rest of the body? In other words, the guf itself, the body, the organs, the limbs, the skin, the eyes, these have all the same level of sanctity. And in fact, we know that you can donate organs because you're saving someone else's life or helping another individual. So that sort of one halach, again, we just explained before, Jewish ethics means when you have two values that clash, one of them has to become more dominant. So we're dealing with the same issue here. Unfortunately, not just in Israel, but all over the place, when there's war, when there are calamities, disasters, specifically fire, people get burned, and we have the technology now to do skin grafts to help an individual grow back skin to at least deal with some of the mutilating effects of being burned. There is nothing worse than being burned alive in a tank that gets a direct hit. This was true in World War II. This is true, and right now in Israel, unfortunately, with all the various wars, both on the battlefield and also in cities when there are bombings and people get burned. This issue of taking skin grafts from dead people is a very, very important issue, and the rabbis were commissioned to look into it. Now, again, the army doesn't necessarily always follow rabbinical procedures, nor do the hospitals. But because you have a large number of religious soldiers, and the army has the rabbinate is involved, so they looked into this question a number of times, and I wanted to share some of the findings. And this is not unrelated to the whole issue of autopsies as well. Because the body is a sacrosanct vessel, any mutilation of the body is considered a violation, which is why we are very, very opposed halakhically to autopsies. An autopsy is considered nivel hames, so desecrating the body, And whenever possible, we try to avoid it. I remember when I was, for a short period of time in the rabbinate in Montreal, and a girl from Belgium was in a horrible car accident and she died. And the rule is, all over the world, is that when you have an accident, you have to have an autopsy, because you want to determine legally what the cause of death was. And I still have nightmares about this girl's father calling me up from Belgium and saying, you call yourself a rabbi, you allow my daughter to have an autopsy. I still have nightmares about it, but I couldn't help it. I didn't have the political clout at that time to do anything about it. And it still bothers me. Many, many years later, a member of our shul, David Stern, Olav Shalom, was killed in a train wreck. And I remember all night long, every phone in the shul was buzzing, trying to reach a senator, a governor, somebody to prevent this autopsy from happening. And at the last moment, we were able to prevent it from happening. Brad Herman woke some doctor up, got him out of bed, who certified the death, and an autopsy was, thank God, in that case, an autopsy was avoided. But we try very hard to avoid autopsy, to do anything that's considered nivel hames. In our case here, with skin grafts, you have a similar issue. And the important psak, the major psak that most people rely on is from Noda Yehuda, or Cheskel Landau, who paskined that if you have an imminent danger to life, the language that is used is lifanenu, there is somebody around now who could use or could benefit from the results of an autopsy. If a person had a certain sickness and the autopsy can tell you something about that sickness, and another person who's dying from that sickness is available, you can do the autopsy to perhaps save this person's life. So how do you define lifanenu? If somebody's there. Now, in Europe, 300 years ago, it's very clear. If somebody's in the next town or a neighboring town, and an autopsy could help determine the cause of that person's illness, and you could help somebody who's suffering from the same illness, fine. Today, most authorities interpret lifanenu very broadly, because with accessibility via television and computers, if a person dies in Chicago and there's somebody in Johannesburg, that's considered lifanenu, because you can do all this stuff via the computer. Yeah.
Does that mean that we can never do an autopsy for Alzheimer's?
Possibly. If the particular aspect of that person's Alzheimer's exists in another person, and there's a hope that you can learn about it, perhaps. And you'd have to ask the question. Yeah.
I guess also I've heard autopsies, if someone is relatively healthy and suddenly dies, that some people want an autopsy because this person has children, and to see if there was something that may have caused his death with the genetics.
So that might be a more liberal interpretation of lifanenu, that someone's around that could, if someone is around who could benefit from the results and a life could be saved, then it's permissible. Now, we're going to see whether we can apply that to skin grafts as well. Yeah.
Watching this TV show,
I can't hear you.
so I was watching the TV show.
Yes.
One Water. And in the show, the doctor was forging the parents of children's consent form. She was the organ donors. She was saving, she saved 35, 40 children. But the question is, how would Allah look at someone like that? The most important thing is to save lives.
Yes.
Which she's doing, but at the same point, she's not getting permission from the parents.
No, you have to have permission.
Yeah, but how would Allah look at that? I know how an American would look to her, right? But how would
No, it's certain. If a person wants to give their organs to save another life, then it's permissible. I remember very, very clearly when my student, Alyssa Flato, Aleha Shalom, was killed in a terrorist attack, and she was basically brain dead. I mean, she was not going to recover. Her father asked his rabbi, Rabbi Marcus at that time, if the organs could be donated. He in turn asked Rabbi Tendler. Rabbi Tendler said yes, and there are people who are walking around alive today because of that organ donation.
I think we're eight different people, I think.
Yeah, some of them didn't make it, but many of them are still around today. Yeah.
Doesn't matter if the recipient is Jewish.
No, I don't think it makes a difference. I mean, it would be, I assume it would be preferable if they were Jewish, but I don't think it makes that much of a difference. Preferably Jewish. Now, so skin grafts after serious burns is being analyzed, was analyzed by the rabbis. Deriving benefit from the skin of a deceased person, is that permissible? Is it permissible and again, a skin graft is not normal usage of skin. You're cutting off skin from some person who's dead, and you're putting it in a skin bank. They have banks for skin. And the question is also, how many of these skins, or how many can you put into a skin bank to be considered, lifanenu, that is a present and existing need? There are technical differences. And is skin from a body required to be buried? We know organs require burial. Anything from a body requires burial. And this, by the way, is a serious problem in hospitals. When they remove organs or limbs, very often they just get thrown into the incinerator. I know that there are a number of organizations who monitor amputations of Jewish patients to make sure that the limbs are not thrown out and they get buried properly. Because that's the halacha. You can't just cut off somebody's leg that has gangrene, for example, and just incinerate it. It has to be buried. So these are a lot of technical issues here that I want to try to get into. Yeah.
I assume that the same applies to teeth, because I know my dentist, a room dentist, uses bone grafts. And I asked him if they're from a buddy, he says they are.
Right.
So we use human bone.
Yeah, so bones are the same thing. Bones, skins, it's all the same thing. So the questions are basically, is the skin of a dead person permitted or forbidden min Torah? Can you use the skin of a dead person? Is that considered, now again, skin is like, if you say skin is like an organ, and that's already been decided, but there's a big machlokas among Rishonim. Rabbeinu Tam says that the skin of a dead person is asur min Torah, is prohibited. And he quotes the Ritva and the Rashba. A number of Rishonim would be opposed to this particular procedure because the skin of a dead body should be buried and it shouldn't be put into somebody else. On the other hand, Tosfos, certainly a reliable authority, is of the opinion that it's not prohibited. And so you have a machlokas Rishonim right there about the isur of skin not being buried. So you have on whom to rely, legitimate authorities. The Tosfos is certainly, and the Marsha and the Rambam, legitimate authorities, yeah.
Could it be the skin is different than the heart? It's okay to donate a heart.
This is the, you've hit the nail on the head. You've hit the nail on the head. Is the skin any different from any other organ of the body? And that's part of the machlokas. Yes, no. Again, is skin the same as an organ? And that's what they're arguing about. Also, there's a separate issue of deriving benefit, hana, from a dead body. That's another interesting machlokas. Is there an obligation to bury human skin like everything else? Yeah.
from the person, from which end, from the person who donated or from the person that received it? Is there a difference?
No, it's just that it's the skin itself, the skin of a dead body. If it's considered part of a body, then you can't use it. It has to be buried.
Whoever they took the skin from, it's not good, first of all.
Correct.
And whoever receives skin,
Yeah, it's a double whammy. You got it on both sides. If it's prohibited. On the other hand, there are Rishonim who say that it's certainly not biblically prohibited, and also the question of whether you have to bury it. We have to bury the remains as soon as possible. Is skin part of that obligation as well? And that's also part of the machlokas. Again, if it's a question of saving a life, and there's a very nuanced discussion there. Is saving a life the same as making life more bearable? If a person can walk around with horribly burned skin and looks horrible and ugly, but he's alive, versus having a skin graft and making it look more normal, these are, again, this is what Jewish ethics is all about. When you have countervailing values, how do you decide which one is more predominant? And an ancillary question to that is not just using the skin, but can we take skin and put it in a skin bank? There are such things. They have blood banks, you have skin banks. Can you take skin from dead bodies, put it in a bank, because you know there's going to be a need for it. There's going to be another bombing. There's going to be another attack on the soldiers get caught in a tank that gets burned, or they get burnt in some other conflagration. How much skin do you put in the bank? For how many people? In the eventuality that you're going to need it, because when you need it, you can't first go look around for bodies to take skin from. You need a skin bank. And this, what the rabbis argue, that there are several major poskim in Israel that had some major machloksim about this. Ultimately, we agreed that you can have skin grafts. Not everybody agrees, but the ultimate psak, even though some rabbis in Israel disagree, but Rabbi Shaul Yisraeli's opinion is the one that's usually accepted, that the skin of a deceased person does not require burial. And if you have people at hand that could benefit from it, or there will be people in all probability that could use it, he comes down on the permissible side. You also have some other chuvos, yeah.
how much is a dead body, how much of the body has to be buried? Yeah, I mean, does that mean the whole body?
Yeah.
I know you can identify a bone or part of the body.
Any part of the human body has to be buried. I remember after 9/11, they were finding body parts all over Lower Manhattan, on rooftops. And it was important not only to bury all parts of the human bodies, but also to be able to identify what was left of the human body to allow women to get remarried, not to become agunos.
As you left, the dust there, they watched the off. So any of the dust collections, stayed on site, they can process.
It's a serious problem. Rav Moshe Feinstein, in a related tshuva concerning autopsies, which is very similar to skin graft on certain levels, and he said that the definition of lifanenu, going back to the Nodeh Yehuda's tshuva, includes people with life-threatening diseases, even though a specific person has not yet been identified. That's a major loophole. Even though somebody has not been identified, but you know it's going to happen, or a person is out there that could use it. So an autopsy in that situation and a skin graft in that situation would be permissible. But concerning the skin banks, the chief rabbinate limited the procedure to 50 skins and no more in the skin to have available in the skin bank, because even though there may not be an individual now, the likelihood is that in the near future, there's going to be another bombing, or soldiers are going to be injured, or people get burned in a tank, and unfortunately, it's a reality. But the halakhic issues were debated starting in the late 50s and early 60s. And again, two schools of thought, one more strict, one more lenient. But ultimately, we accept the fact that skin grafts are permissible and that you're allowed to have skin put in a skin bank. There is a distinction made between skin and body in terms of the obligation for burial. And again, when you're dealing with halacha, you have a stricter opinion and a more lenient opinion. They're both accurate. That's the beauty of halacha. And the talent is being able to know when to apply which aspect, when to be machmir, when to be makil. And here, when you're dealing with saving lives or helping people, it's a very broad category, helping people. If a person has to walk around the rest of his life misshapen or misfigured because he's lacking a skin graft, that can be very harmful psychologically as well. And that's a whole other area for discussion, perhaps at a later time, the impact of psychology versus medical issues. Medical issue is very clear cut. Psychological issue is not so black and white. And if a person is suffering psychologically because he's going to walk around disfigured, is that as serious as a person who's in imminent danger of dying? Again, Jewish ethics is based on conflicting values and how you navigate those conflicting values to come to a proper psak. Yeah. Yeah. 50 skins in a skin bank in Eretz Yisrael, correct.
What about the rest of the world?
The rest of the world is not necessarily bound by rabbinic dictum on this particular issue. So there are, I am sure, throughout the United States, various skin banks that are not concerned with halach. Well, but the Rabbanim here don't really deal with that because it isn't an issue in America, because they don't follow halacha. Well, in America, no one's asking the rabbis in America if there could be a skin graft bank. Then he'll get it. He'll get it because these banks are available, and they have, assuming in the location where he is, that there is a skin bank. If they were asked, they would say yes. Yes. That's a different question. Cosmetic surgery is not the same as skin grafts.
Skin graft is not for cosmetic.
Correct. If it's non-cosmetic, it's not a problem. Okay, hopefully this will not become a reality, and we won't need to have any more issues dealing with skin grafts, and nobody's going to get suffered, and there'll be no more wars. Amen.
Amen.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Wally.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wally. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Have a good day,
Take
Yanish,
care.
good afternoon, Yanish.
Marvin.
Hello,
Hey.
Yanis.
Hello, have a good day, everybody.
You too,
Okay.
Janish.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
What time is it? It's 11.
May not have.
Watch.